So I have a special treat for you today. We are going to can jambalaya, and this recipe is so rich, and it's full of chicken and spicy sausage and a little ham. I mean, it's so good. And I made this for the first time, and then I tried it. I'll show you at the end. And my family loved it. My grandson says it's one of his favorite dishes of all time. So I really encourage you to try this recipe. But I want to warn you, it is not from a ball book or something else. I got it on a site. I'll put the site down below here. But I use my common sense type of canning, which might not be the best. I'm not a complete rebel, but in my case, I canned chicken, I've canned a little sausage, I've canned ham before, and of course, tomato sauce, things of that nature. So everything in here is stuff I've canned before. It's just put into 1 quart jar or a pint jar, whatever you whatever you prefer. So I'm comfortable making this, but you have to decide if you're comfortable. But let me tell you, this is so good and so rich. But make sure you have plenty of time to make this recipe, because it takes quite a bit of time. You have to cook your chicken beforehand and then debone it and deskin it, and you have to cook your sausage ahead of time, and you have to dice up your peppers and your onions. So make sure you have a nice weekend or something to make this and pressure can it. But I assure you, this recipe is fantastic. So it says we need about 4 pounds of chicken pieces, and this is with skin and bones. I have about 4.5 pounds, but you also need 3 pounds of the Cajun style sausage, and these are really only 12-ounce packages, so I'm a little light on this, so we'll have just a little bit more chicken. And you also need, way in the back there, a 1/2 pound of ham, and we've got, wants 3 medium onions to dice up. Got onions here. We got a yellow pepper and a red pepper that will have to be diced. And it says 5 ribs of celery. My husband hates celery for some reason, so I am not putting celery in this. And then we want a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. I only have one that has the basil, garlic, and oregano in it, so hopefully that'll be fine. And then we need 8 ounces of tomato sauce. And we're going to need 2 quarts of chicken stock, but we're going to be making some chicken stock while we're cooking our chicken, so I'm not sure how much we'll have to add. And now we have our seasoning. We want a tablespoon of Cajun seasoning, a tablespoon of black pepper, a tablespoon of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of dried thyme, 2 tablespoons of the smoky paprika, and 2 tablespoons of chili powder. Those are our ingredients. So put your chicken pieces, in my case size, in a nice heavy pot, and then you want to cover them. Put just enough water so everything is covered. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, we got our chicken up to boiling. We're going to turn it down to sim and cook for an hour. So while your chicken is cooking, you want to slice up your sausage, and not more than 1/4 inch thick. And then we're going to cook it up. Now we're going to be cooking up that sausage in batches. You want to get a little brown and remove some of that fat. So I've placed paper towel in between the batches to absorb some of the fat and oil here. Now we're just going to let it cool. Now we just want to dice up our ham. Not big pieces. And of course you could already buy pre-diced ham. Depends what you have on hand. And now I just want to turn this. I'm just about that big. Okay, almost ready for the next step. So you're going to want to dice up your vegetables. I'm putting them in a little bit bigger dice. It's up to you what size you want. There. This is the size I'm picking, but you can do much smaller, whatever works for you. Okay, you want to remove your chicken pieces, and we're going to let them cool so we can separate the meat from the skin and bones. I'm going to let the broth cook a little bit longer and get a little bit more concentrated. So I measured the broth from cooking the chicken, and we need to have 2 quarts, so we're a little short. Oh, put in some extra chicken broth. And we need maybe about 1.5 cups of chicken broth to add to it. So you want to separate your meat from your bones and gristle and skin and fat and get it ready for the recipe. So what are we doing with this? Definitely not giving it to the chickens, right? I don't give chickens chicken meat. But I am putting it out on our deck. The possums will have fun. Okay, it's time to cook up our vegetables. We want to use some bacon grease. It says 2 tablespoons. I'm trying a heaping tablespoon here since I don't have the celery to cook. We'll see how that goes. Melt that. Now if you don't have bacon grease, you can use regular oil. Don't worry about it. Just that bacon grease gives a nice flavor, and it's nice recycling something, right? So you make your bacon and you save your fat, and then you cook. So we're going to put all of our vegetables in there. Now we're only cooking these till they get soft, because they're going to cook a little longer in the broth. So be back. Isn't it a pretty color? The yellow and the red and the white. Yeah, they're soft enough. Now it's time to put them in the broth. Bit of onion out of there. Get the rest here. Now we're going to stir in our spices. Okay. Get those all mixed in. And we want our diced tomatoes. It didn't say to drain them, so I didn't. And we want 8 ounces of the sauce, so let's see. Yeah, that's about 8 ounces. Mix that in. Now we gotta put in our meat. Here's our sausage. Okay. Still some fat at the bottom there. And put in our sliced ham. I should say probably diced ham. And our chicken. Okay, hard for you to see here. We're going to stir this all up. And then we're going to let this get up to a boil, take it down to simmer, and simmer for a half hour. Okay, I filled my jars. You can see this one here. It's really not as high. So that will be the one that in a couple days I'll take off the shelf and I'll make it up for you. Let's just do our debubbling. Quite a bit of liquid, so not much problem. And you can, again, as I always say, use any tool you want. They just say better not to use metal because you don't want to chip the jar. Okay. We're going to want to wipe the rims well. You can use water on your cloth or a little vinegar, which helps if there's fat on it. Because you want to have a good seal, so you got to make sure there's nothing preventing that. Okay. Doesn't that look pretty though? It's got such a nice color to it. I think this is going to taste great. Okay, time to put on our lids. Rings. Okay, I've got my water into the recommended depth. Put a little white vinegar in there so I don't get cloudy jars. Make sure my rim right here is lubricated. Be back when I'm ready. And always before you're canning, check your vent hole. I just use a paper clip here. Goes all the way through, it's fine. You can also hold it up to the light and see if you can see through it, but that's important. Okay, we've got screws here on really tight, and now we're just waiting for a nice stream of steam to come out. Be back. Don't think you can see this. No, even if I do that, you can't. Anyway, there's a nice steam coming out. So we're going to set our timer for 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes has passed. I'm putting on a 10-pound weight. And then I'm just waiting until that dial gets up to 10. And this starts its little jig. Okay, it's a jiggling. We got it up to 10. So now we set a timer for 90 minutes. Okay, our 90 minutes is up. I'm turning the burner off. And we're going to wait until this gauge gets down to 0. Take off the weight and open it up. So we'll open our jar. Nice seal, even though there's that much gap. Pour it in to warm it up. Now we're just going to bring it up to a boil, turn it down to simmer, and warm it up for 5-10 minutes. Just put some over it. There we go. There we have it. It smells so good, and look at that rich brown sauce here. Let's take a piece of, so we have a piece of sausage and rice. Good. Sausage still has the heat. Some chicken and rice. This is really good. I was afraid that the oregano and was it basil, whatever was in the diced tomatoes would show through. You know, I'd recommend just using plain diced, but it really doesn't. This is really very, very good. The sauce is good too. So my grandson's over and he's trying this recipe for the first time. What do you think, Liam?
It's good. There's spice, you can taste it, but it's not controlling the whole meal. So it's really good. It's one of my favorites.
Okay, there you have testimony. Okay, you had my taste test. I mean, it's really, really good. I was surprised at how good it is. This is now my favorite stewish, soupish recipe to can. It is absolutely delicious and it warms the belly. So as always, please subscribe, share the knowledge, and thumbs up if you like this recipe.